onto my computer. Okay, so we're recording this. So if you've just come to this session, as I've just said, my name is Susan. I'm a global career coach. We're going to be focusing on the one reason why you get hired and why that's so important. And I'm actually going to kind of make a bold statement and to say that kind of most CV companies or even LinkedIn companies don't really get this, and I'm going to prove it. So during this session, there is going to be an opportunity at the end of the session to ask further questions. So if you can stay with me for that. And I'm currently from the UK. But lucky me, I'm actually being able to work from Spain. So this is where, okay, if I just show you, it's a great view where I've got today. Okay, so let's start. Let's actually begin this session. So as I said, I'm a global career coach, and what I kind of noticed is that we are not selling ourselves properly. This is a real big problem, particularly if you are in a high-level role or want to get to that high-level role, because you sound like everybody else. And this is so important. You need to understand that, you know, if I was working with a client, this is what would happen. We would work out your USP, which is your unique selling point, and why that matters to the company that wants to hire you. So the big thing that you need to understand is that you only get hired because the company has a problem. So think about what I'm trying to say here. If the company doesn't have a problem, this is where downsizing actually occurs, or there's no need to actually even offer that particular role. Yeah, most people don't really understand if that's the reason why you get hired, then surely we need to be changing the approach in terms of how we basically position ourselves. I think that's the word I'm trying to use, to be able to get companies chasing us. So the thing that I'm really interested in is to try to make this a lot easier for you in the long term, because your ultimate result should be that you want companies chasing you. You don't really want to be going to do this hard slog of literally going for, you know, creating a CV, a resume, a LinkedIn profile for every single job that you know, potentially want to do, you know, in the course of your career. Really what you should be aiming for is to generate interest where you're headhunted for those roles. Again, does that not make a lot of sense? And the way that you know, start to think about this is that you need to understand that most companies, for example, if they do your CV, are not really helping you to really articulate what makes you different. What they're normally doing, can I be frank, is they will send you a pretty little questionnaire to complete. And they will say, okay, if you answer these questions, we will work this out. Now, I'm kind of old-fashioned. I believe, for example, that you should be speaking to you to actually work this important point out, because it's so critical. It's the thing that can actually get you sitting across from an interviewer. That is the most powerful thing that you can do. So to me, a CV, a resume, a LinkedIn profile needs to have that wow factor. It needs to really articulate, you know, why they should hire you, and it needs to grab their attention. Yet most people are not doing this, and I would say that 99% of people, and I'm going to be incredibly rude here, they're basically following the same formula, and you have CV or resume shape, yet you do not know that you've got it. So I am being pretty cruel, but it's true. So what do I mean by resume shape? So I want you to kind of look at your own CV, your own resume, whatever you want to call it, and look at the personal profile at the top section. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to count how many adjectives or describing words are actually in that top paragraph. Okay, because this is going to help you to understand that you're basically the top portion of your CV, your resume, even your LinkedIn profile is basically naff. So describing words could be, I'm a motivated self-leader or self-starter. I'm a collaborative leader. I'm forward-thinking. It means absolutely nothing. That message, that's what I'm trying to say to you. What you're saying means little, and you're wasting a great opportunity to basically showcase, the value that you can bring. So it's really important that you understand this, because what I find that's happening is that you are getting, and this is what tends to happen because I speak to a lot of people, is that when you are in that situation where you want a job, or you kind of go from website to website, which is why I've got this article, which is it's actually titled, Stop Listening to the So-Called Career Experts. Because what's actually happening, and I've got my crystal ball, okay? What's actually happening is that you're getting competing opinions. For example, I will be telling you one way, another person will be saying it a different way, and all that's actually happening is that you're getting completely confused in that process. So I want to take that away from you. I want to really make it really clear that you've got to kind of take some kind of thought process yourself, and either you will agree with me and you'll go, okay, maybe she's got a point here, or maybe it's going to help you to decide, actually, I don't agree with what she's talking about. Yeah, and that's fine. You can go and find another career coach, and there's plenty of them that do the carbon copy approach. Yeah, which is, seriously, go and check out the top part of your LinkedIn profile or the top part of your CV, the summary section. They are normally very, very generic. So what I mean by generic is that you all sound exactly the same. And there is a huge problem with this. When you all sound exactly the same, where you say, I'm a motivated self-starter, I'm a collaborative leader, it makes it incredibly difficult for a hiring manager or a recruiter to understand why they should pick up the phone and be interested in you. Because you all sounded the same. And it doesn't even really matter what level that you are at. Yeah, that's what I've noticed. So you've got to really start thinking about this. So what I've found, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through this for you, just to kind of, help you to understand, is that the way that I work is, in some senses, we're trying to keep it simplistic because it's common sense. Yeah, you have got to understand that you are actually, I'm going to say to you that you need to start treating yourself as a business. People will buy into your service because that's what you are trying to do. Yet time and time again, I see people kind of, it's kind of a 3-star, resume that they've got rocking, or it's a really poorly thought out LinkedIn profile. Surely, this needs to be 5-star, because you are doing 2 things, which is you might be wanting to find the next opportunity, but even when you get hired, your ultimate goal should really be about the ability to still get hired when you're happy within that job. Now, it sounds crazy, but ultimately what you're trying to do is to continually get job opportunities coming to you. So you've got to realize that as you've got to position yourself as a business, you've got to give that 5-star feel to what you're doing. Because the only way a company can evaluate you, if I'm being incredibly honest, because they've probably not heard of you, let's be frank, they've heard of you in the company that you're working in, yeah, okay, you're visible, you're highly thought of, you do a great job in that company, But the problem happens as soon as you want to leave that company. They've not heard of you. So the only way that they can evaluate you is based on your LinkedIn profile and is based on that resume CV. So to understand this, you need to see that yourself as number one, you are the service provider. That's so important to understand. So what do I mean by this? So a lot of people will write things I've done. They talk about things like, I've got, I don't know, Microsoft Office experience. Isn't that not a given in this day and age? Okay, or it's not relevant what they're talking about. So all I'm trying to say to you is that you need to be understanding that you are writing this with the thought process in terms of not what you've done, okay, which is what many people do, but you need to change it to work out what is your USP and why should that matter to the company that wants to hire you. So your USP is your unique selling point. Number two, you're actually a problem solver. Okay, so what that means is you recognize that you're a business and you get hired because you solve a problem. If they didn't have any problems, you will not get hired. It is that simple. Okay, that's when downsizing happens, redundancy happens. And then this is the third thing, okay, and in some senses I've been guilty of this myself. So, sometimes I see, I do see occasionally that somebody's got a decent LinkedIn profile, but the problem that they've got is that it is not getting seen by the right people. So the right people are the people who have the ability to hire you. The right people are your gatekeepers, so they could be the recruiters for your industry. So you need to be making sure that what you're doing is getting seen. So when I first started in business, I can honestly say I was probably hiding behind my computer. Now I'm hiding in front of it, so it's a little bit better. Okay, well, it's a lot better. And I can prove that I basically am saying to you, if you are not visible, you cannot get hired. So you can have the best CV, the best resume, the best LinkedIn profile in the entire world, but if the right people are not seeing that, you're never, ever going to get hired. Or you're never going to get those job opportunities coming to you, which is incredibly similar to what I recognize. So for me as a freelancer in some senses, or as a business, it was important, just as it's important for you, that you need to become visible. So one great way that you can start doing this is by getting more visible on LinkedIn. One of the great things, so what I'm saying to you is that yes, content is important, but what are you doing to communicate your message to the people that matter? So that's incredibly important. So the way that you can kind of check this out, okay, is if you go to profile and look at who's viewed your profile, because this is a great way that you can identify your KPIs. Okay, so my KPIs are showing me that within 90 days that I've got over nearly 4,000 people who have viewed my profile. So that helps me to get seen. It helps me to get seen by the right people as well. So this is not just anybody looking at my profile. I've been able to actually start using this as a database. So think about it for a second, what I've just said to you. Imagine you have got the ability to actually make sure that you have got a great LinkedIn profile that really, shows off your USP, your kind of, what you offer. And then you've got this added way of making sure that it gets seen by the right people, because you understand how to use it as a database. How powerful could that be for you? How could it change your career prospects pretty much, straight away? Okay, if you were able to learn this type of approach. So what I'm trying to say to you, the old school approaches in some senses, yes, I still believe that you can still apply for a job in the old-fashioned way, but what I'm trying to say to you is that you can be proactive. And I encourage people to be proactive. I encourage you to actually kind of make opportunities come to you, because ultimately that's what I teach. I teach how you can get companies coming to you so that you kind of, it doesn't have to be always this hard slog of where you're trying to do all the work, which is you completing CV after CV after CV, tweaking the CV for every job role, having to do job applications. Surely there is a better way. Well, yes, there is. But that means that you need to have great foundations. And those foundations, I'm talking about your LinkedIn profile as one of them, you know, in this day and age, and your CV and resume. They're absolutely key. And then we're looking at the next strategy is how do we actually get seen? So really and truly, let's recap really what we've talked about so far. I've basically said to you that if you need to really start thinking about, you know, what is the one thing, you know, there is one reason why you get hired. And that one thing is understanding that you get hired because the company has a problem and they see you as the solution to the problem. It's common sense. You do not now need to go through every website, have composing or competing opinions, because when you think about this logically, it's true. And it doesn't matter where in the world that you work. Yeah, this is true. It doesn't matter if you're a voluntary organization, if, you know, if they don't need staff or a volunteer, they don't have a problem. You're not needed, okay? And so you need to understand it in that clear way. I said to you that the second point I mentioned is that you want to check out your LinkedIn profile and you want to check out your CV and resume, because I know for sure that you're probably suffering from CV shame, but you don't know it. You've not realized, because it's the way we've been taught to complete these documents, which is let's count the fancy adjectives that are in, you know, the top part of my summary profile. So count the, you know, the what can I put it, the adjectives, the describing words. I'm a self-starter, you know, I'm a motivated team leader. They mean nothing. Means nothing, okay? So we said, okay, you need to recognize this is a huge issue. I also said to you that you've got to recognize that you are the problem solver, and you've got to start treating yourself as a business, and you've got to recognize that unless you want to do all the hard work all the time, completing CV after CV, your ultimate goal should be that you want to get companies chasing you. That should be your ultimate goal, even when you've got a job. Yeah, that's the most important thing. So even when you get hired, yeah, you need to be thinking this way. Because if you don't, then you go back to the drawing board where you go invisible again. Nobody knows you exist. And if nobody knows you exist, you can never, ever kind of get those companies chasing you. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. You need to start thinking like this. We also mentioned that the higher the role is, the more important really this is to do. It's absolutely critical that you start presenting yourself as like a 5-star hotel rather than the 3-star, you know, copy, you know, the plain bland things that I see all the time. And in my opinion, if everybody's doing things, you know, in a very similar way, you want to run the opposite way. You need to stand out. And what you're currently doing is you are blending in with every other applicant. So you make it incredibly difficult for a hiring manager, and I actually feel sorry for recruiters. Nobody normally feels sorry for recruiters, but I do, because I see your LinkedIn profiles and I normally explain that, hey, look at this, look how difficult it is for this recruiter or a hiring manager to actually work out that it might be worth even just giving you a call. This is how damaging it can be. Okay, so you need to be thinking about it in this way. I am going to start asking, seeing if you've got any questions with what we've talked about. This is a bite-sized session, and I'm hoping that it gave you, plenty to think about. My name is Susan Burke, as you know, and you can go to my website, which is the linkedinsuccessacademy.com. And don't forget, you can also download a copy of my book, which is free, which is called Get Companies Chasing You. And if you found it useful, by all means, check out my website. And the things that I've been mentioning, and I'm just going to see if we can jump on, but this is my website, the LinkedIn Success Academy. And what you might want to try and do is go into the VIP section, and I actually help people with their LinkedIn profiles and also their CV. So if you think that this is going to be useful to you, do check this out. Just to give you a recap very briefly of what would happen. As I said, I'm pretty old-fashioned. I expect to speak with you to work out your USP. Then what actually happens is we kind of probably go back and forth a few times, to really get your CV, your resume nailed, even your LinkedIn profile, and it's unlimited revisions. You will be satisfied with this because we've worked on it together. Okay, so this is really important. We've worked on this together. It actually goes to a professional proofreader as well. And then there's added bonuses. One of those added bonuses, which I think that you're going to like, is I'm going to show you how you can tailor your CV without the workload for any job that you go to. So this is really important. Yeah. So without the workload, you don't have to kind of reinvent the whole CV. I'm going to show you an easy way to actually make sure that it's fit for purpose and it gets you across from the interviewer each and every time. So do check out my website. So I'm going to check out some of the questions because I think there's some questions here. So just 1 second. Okay, what's the best way to know if a company is legit or very good at revamping your resume? Okay, well, recommendations, I suppose. So if you went to my website, which is the LinkedIn Success Academy, there is actually success files, which you can check out. Also, I do offer a guarantee. It's different lengths depending on the product. Okay, so for example, if you did the Bootcamp Job Club, I offer, for example, a 7-day kind of refund policy with that. If it was the LinkedIn CV or LinkedIn package, you would probably know from the first conversation, and the reason why you would know from the first conversation is because I would be showing you great CVs and what yours will be looking like, okay, and LinkedIn profiles. So basically from that first consultation, you should have a fair idea if you're going to like it. And plus, I offer unlimited revisions. So hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions that, if there are, feel free to type it in the box, and then we can go from there. Otherwise, it has been a pleasure, and what will happen with this video, it will go into my LinkedIn group, and if you've got any questions that you don't want to post to the group in the Zoom chat, then you can come and find me at Susan Burke, all one word, B-U-R-K-E, that's my surname, at live.co.uk. Okay, so I think that's it. There is no more questions coming in. So Brian, if you want to have a chat about that, feel free. Hopefully that's helped. Take care. Have a great day.